Welcome back, Patrick. And I guess welcome to everyone else as well who found their way onto this video. Today, my fellow mobile gamers, we will be talking about the 4 most interesting mobile games that I played last week, spending less than a minute per game to give you a quick summary of what the pros and what the cons are of each of these mobile games. And in today's episode, we will dive into an RPG-meets-Tetris merge game with a gameplay so hectic that I was literally sitting at the edge of my seat, a fun retro roguelike indie RPG, a real-time strategy game that plays like Crash Arena Turbo Stars and Art of War Legion, and then lastly, a new casual Playgendary racing game with a ton of over-the-top abilities that we use to simply obliterate our opponents. So, I hope you're ready. This is gonna be a great episode, and we're gonna kick things off with an early access game called Battle Legion, which is a real-time strategy game that plays a bit like the popular Crash Arena Turbo Stars or Art of War Legion, which means that we strategically set up a team of units, and then we send them to war against another player's team, with the fight itself unfolding automatically. The fun part of this game comes from strategically positioning our units and combining them in various ways prior to each fight. Unfortunately, there are lots of unique units, which means hundreds, if not thousands, of potential strategies to explore. Now, the game has chosen to monetize through a cash shop that sells cosmetic items, and that part is great, of course. More monetization systems that rely on cosmetic items, it's always better, but it also sells items that allow us to grow stronger faster. And these last items, of course, does make the game slightly pay to win, but I didn't really mind it much during actual gameplay, as I wasn't prevented from progressing as a free player, and there's no energy system either. The game requires online access. It takes up 276 megabytes of space. It's out on Android in a beta version in some countries, so be sure to check that out through the links in the description box down below. And then it seems to be globally released on iOS already. If you enjoyed games like Cats or Art of War Legion, then this is definitely your cup of tea, and despite the monetization that does allow us to progress faster, I still think this is an easy recommendation for a casual game to play for a few weeks, and then you can always move on to a new game. And actually, that new game that you could move on to could be OneBit Adventure, because OneBit Adventure is a retro top-down roguelike dungeon crawler, and I love these types of games. This one has simple swipe controls, 5 characters with unique stats, lots of loot, crafting, and just a whole lot more waiting for us. Whenever we level up in OneBit Adventure, we can upgrade the core stats of our character, and when we die, which eventually does happen, we can create a new character, or we can wait for our character to revive again after a few hours. There are no advertisements in the game, and the in-app purchases only allow us to spend premium currency on reviving our characters instantly instead of having to wait a few hours. My only and honestly rather minor frustration with OneBit is the slight repetitiveness of the gameplay. However, the developer is actively working on the game, and I still find it enjoyable to play as is. It's just that after a few hours, the game kinda tends to repeat itself. The game is offline playable. It takes up only 69 megabytes of space, so this is a pretty small one. It's out on Android and it's out on iOS already, and it's a great retro roguelike to dive into if you're a fan of the genre, so it's an easy recommendation from my end. In fact, I think some of you might actually find this game to be a bit of a hidden indie gem of a mobile game. So these first 2 games were for the RPG fans out there and for the strategy fans out there. But what if you just like casual games or you like racing games? Well, my friends, then you might consider checking out Racemasters, which is a new simple racing game by Playgendary, where we equip a vehicle and we fill it up with weapons and power-ups, which we then use during what's supposedly 4-player multiplayer matches. Although, a small disclaimer here, it's not actually online multiplayer. Instead, we seem to be racing against bots, or at least cars of other players controlled by an AI system. Also worth noting is that during a race in Racemasters, we don't actually control the car itself, but we do have to trigger power-ups at just the right time to destroy enemies or block incoming attacks. Using these power-ups cost mana, and mana is a resource that automatically recovers throughout a race, and it's the amount of different power-ups that makes Racemasters interesting, as there are near endless possible combinations, which of course means lots of different strategies to explore. The single-player campaign mode unfortunately uses an energy system. However, though, at least the online modes, or quote-unquote online modes, let us play as much as we want, but my main frustration actually isn't the energy system, but instead the crazy amount of advertisements we're shown. We can, however, unlock or remove these advertisements through a single $4 in-app purchase. So if you decide to dive into this game, you're definitely gonna have to consider buying that in-app purchase, otherwise you're gonna be bombarded with advertisements. Now the game does also feature in-app purchases that allow you to progress faster, so yes, this game isn't completely fair, but it's still fun as a very casual experience in between the larger, more serious games. The game is offline playable, it takes up 327 megabytes of space, it's available on Android and on iOS, and it is worth considering checking out if you're looking for a new casual game that you won't be playing too competitively. And then for the game that I've really been looking forward to share with you guys today, Overloot, which is a new RPG-meets-Tetris meets merge game where we manage the inventory of an epic hero slaying loot-dropping creatures. So in Overloot, loot can either be equipped on our hero to make him stronger until it breaks from all the battling at least, or it can be merged with another identical item to create a stronger version of that item. Now this is where it gets interesting though, because if our inventory fills up from all of this loot, a thief will spawn to snag up a few random items from us, and this is where the Tetris element comes in. So basically, we have to keep our inventory under control. It can't grow too large or we will start losing some of our items. And we definitely want to keep as much of the loot as possible, by the way, because leftover loot after the level is over is sold for gold, which is then used to permanently increase the strength of our hero back in our hero's hometown. The gameplay is fun, it's hectic, and I'm really loving it, and it's almost guaranteed to have you guys sitting at the edge of your seats as you play the game. Now, the way the game monetizes is through incentivized video advertisements and pay-to-progress faster in-app purchases that are not necessary as the game is single player, by the way, and we are also allowed to replay older levels if we ever feel stuck in this game. And this is actually important because many mobile games don't allow us to do that, so eventually we might hit a paywall, but that is very unlikely to happen in Overloot. The game is offline playable, it takes up 735 megabytes of space, it's available on Android and on iOS, and if you like RPGs or even merge games, you should definitely check out Overloot, as I think it will positively surprise a lot of you fine folk, and it's also my favorite game of the week. So there you have it, 4 new mobile games to check out if you are interested. Now I hope that you've enjoyed today's video and that you'll consider leaving a like and subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you're new around here so that you can join our mobile gaming community. Because then I will see you guys very soon again and I will look forward to that. So until next time, just keep gaming, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys around.